Hi everyone, we're reading chapter 24 of Del Toro Moon by Darby Carshot. Matt, sprawled on Ben's bed, I rolled my head. My brother slouched in the doorway. What? We've got pizza duty. Dad already called in the order. Let's roll. Nah, I'm good. He stepped closer, grabbed my arm, and pulled me off the bed. I said no. I struggled to my feet and yanked free. And Dad said you had to. He looked away. And I wouldn't mind the company. In the living room, Dad and the Navarre sat with beers in their hand, speaking in low voices. The conversation died when I agreed. I felt their gazes on me all the way to the door. Stop staring at me. She acts like I don't know what. I clambered into the cab and slammed the door and powered down the window. Usually I got a kick out of going somewhere with just Ben. It pulled us closer like shrink wrap, the years between us melting away. Two brothers, a truck. Good times. Not so much this time. Nearing Perry's, I couldn't help looking at it, wondering how she's doing. That's the Vandermeer's house. The words fell out of my mouth before I caught them. A small sedan sat in the driveway with a rental sticker on its bumper. Ben noticed the car too. Guess their station wagon's still in the maze. Perry walked out the front door, a trash bag in each hand. I slid down in the car seat, practically folded in half. Maybe she wouldn't notice us. Yeah, right. Spotting our truck, she jumped over the bags and motioned for us to stop, then called something over her shoulder. Ben slowed with a wave of his own. No, keep going, I hissed. Why? He pulled over and put the truck into park. The traitor. Because I don't want to talk to anyone about anything. Just because. He gave me a look, then turned off the engine and stepped out. Perry and Dr. Vandermeer on their heels. Met him in the middle of the driveway. I slouched lower and fastened my eyes on the dashboard. The murmur of voices, then an exclamation from Dr. Vandermeer. More conversation. I caught my name once. Footsteps. Then Perry appeared by my open window. Oh, Matt. The tears in her voice almost broke me. Ben just told us. I nodded, wishing she would go away. She must have read my mind, for she reached through the window and brushed the tips of her fingers along my arm, then walked away. A lump swelled in my throat. I soaked my thigh with a first stop to it. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I socked my thigh with a fist to stop it. The driver's door opened. Ben swung inside. Dr. Vandermeer said she told the others that the biologist, the ones with the braids, was right. He started up the engine. That it was a pack of feral dogs that attacked the camp last night. They believed her. She said also the team refused to go back into the maze. They're abandoning the dig. A lot of them left for Hufferano already. Guess a bunch of dinosaur fossils in 17th century chests weren't worth it. Guess not. I dragged myself behind Ben to the pizzeria. Normally, the aroma of tomato sauce and melted cheese and spicy sausage would have perked me right up. Instead, I almost gagged. I poked Ben in the back and we waited in line. I'll be outside. Leaning against the restaurant's brick wall, I stared down at the sidewalk. The image of Elsid lumped on the ground circled through my head until I wanted to scream. I squeezed my eyes tight. Hey, Matt. I jerked my head up. Ethan was walking past me with his family. I forced a casual smile. Just go inside, please. To my relief, they did. Still, I couldn't help watching into the corner of my eye as his mother gave him an affectionate push through the door, laughing at her son's protests. Ethan grinned back. I wished again, desperately and hopelessly again, that Mom was still alive, and Elsid. If wishes were horses. We drove home, half blinded by the setting sun. The smell of pepperoni rose from the boxes by my feet. Ugh. I stuck my head out the open window, letting my hair beat up my forehead. Matt then nudged my shoulder. I pulled back in. Yeah? Listen, he shifted in your seat. It wasn't your fault, okay? Liar. Sure it was. Why? Because you were riding him when it happened? He snorted. Wow, you and Dad. I sniffed. What about Dad? He thinks all of this is his fault. That he didn't check Elsid over carefully last night. He's beating himself up royally, even though Kathleen told him there was nothing he could have done. How does she know? Ben hesitated. You really want to hear this? No. I guess. Fingers gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary, he spoke in a flat tone. She examined the bite marks before you know. And she said that from the depth and the angle, she guessed he had gotten a full dose. There wasn't anything anyone could have done for the old guy. I thought about Elsid's behavior last night. The way he kept insisting that I leave him. I think you knew too. Why do you say that? Because the way he was acting. He told me he was fine and to just go inside. Then he made up the excuse that Izzy and Turk that he wanted to stretch his legs. Then he walked out into the pasture. I gave up. I stared out the window the rest of the drive, letting the wind dry my cheeks. Back at the ranch, I spied Rigo, along the ruins of the old homestead. Over by the barn, Vasco stood with Izzy, their heads close as they talked. To my surprise, Turk loitered nearby, listening. Something made me hand the boxes to Ben. Maybe it was the shame over the way I treated the bay stallion. I knew, sure as snow in winter, that El Cid would have been hopping mad at me for acting like Turk. We all know what Turk rhymes with. While my brother hid inside, I wandered over the young stallion when I peered at me through the screen of black hair. What's up? I um I kicked at the broken adobe brick, crumbling it further under my boot to dust. About earlier. Sorry. No worries. You're dealing with a load and a half. He bent his neck and touched his lips to one of the bricks, then raised his head. No harm, no foul. Just want to help any way I can. I thought back to what he said. What do you move? What do you move around? Oh, I got to see a lot of the country, and there's always some hunter who needs an experienced partner on a temporary basis. Like if there's wars, like if their war sister's going to full, or their war brother got hurt or something. Even as he spoke, though he kept shooting peeks at Izzy and Turk, then peering around the ranch. Matt, Kathleen appeared on the porch. Come here, Rigo? She looked past me. You doing okay, buddy? He bobbed his head once. I noticed he stayed by the wall. Kathleen motioned me over to the corner of the porch. I have something to you. I already gave one to Ben. She opened her hand and held it out. My heart seized. A slender braided bracelet crafted from white hair and the ends tied off with a red thread. Blades coiled in a circle on her palm. A lock from Elsid's man. An old tradition from my people. I thought that it might bring you some comfort. Skin crawling, I picked it up. I didn't find it comforting. I found it creepy. But there's no way I was hurting anyone else's feeling. Already did plenty of that today. I pretended to examine it, then handed it back. Would you tie it on? I held out my left wrist. She did. There. Thanks. I stepped back and let her go through the door first. Roman, with Ben's help, bustled about the kitchen. Dad stood at the sink, staring out the window at the setting sun, like he wasn't sure what he was supposed to be doing. He reminded me of Rigo. I edged over to him. I didn't know what to say. How was I supposed to make my father feel better when I felt so lousy myself? He was the parent. He was supposed to make me feel better, not the other way around. Everything for the war horses first, next your father and brother, and the innocence of this world. Lastly, yourself. That's the way of the night of the conqueror, and a true man. I gripped the edge of the counter and did my own staring at the window. A weird awkwardness settled over me. I looked down at the person. What would El Cid say? Not your fault, nor yours. Man, I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that in the worst way. I feel like it was, I whispered. Oh, as do I, he sighed, then looped an arm around my neck and pulled me close. He would kick me for acting like this. Javier, he'd say, stop brooding and start planning how to win this fight. You have a job to do, my friend. And frankly, all this maudlin behavior is becoming embarrassing. In spite of the blackness, I grinned weakly at Dad's imitation. A silver of light crept into my chest. Just a sliver, but it made the darkness a little less dark. Are you going to stand there all evening, or are you going to go? Are you going to eat? Kathleen said, because I don't think I can hold back Roman much longer. We crowded around the table loaded with pizza. I selected a slice of my favorite, Hawaiian, and forced myself to take a bite, then another. Hunger saw its opportunity. To my surprise, I ate the whole piece and reached for a second. So, what are we going to do now? Ben asked around a mouthful. Keep hunting? With 3 teams in the field, maybe we can spread out even more? 4 teams. Everyone froze in mid-chew. I'm coming, too. Did they think I was just going to sit around after what happened? They glanced at each other. I knew what they were wondering. Who who would I ride? My son? I don't think, Dad began. I can partner up with Rigo. I paused the assault on the third slice. Where did that idea come from? This is Rigo's especialidad. Roman pointed out, adjusting quickly to a new rider as needs be. It is why I asked him to come along. My father chewed as he studied me. Yes or no? I wasn't sure which decision I wanted him to make. I fingered my bracelet under the table. I want at least one day, Dad finally said, for Matt and Rigo to train together. Do we have that luxury? Kathleen passed her leftover crust to Roman. With their growing numbers, those beasties might pull off a breakout. You guys are always saying the words are strong, but not infallible. And worse, once out of the maze, they'd head straight for Halfrano. The town would turn into a Skinner all-you-can-eat buffet. Hundreds would die. That would not happen. Not on our watch. No victims will die under our Del Toro moon. A faint stirring of something warmed my heart. I didn't know what it was, but anything was better than the coldness. There's another strategy you might try, my friend. You know which one? Roman said after a moment. He pointed a piece of slice at me. Matt would give us 4. Enough to take care of your Skinner problem in one move. Ben looked as confused as I felt. 4? For what? The ritual has not been has not been performed for centuries. Dad's eyes narrowed. At least not that I'm aware of. Do you think it will still work? Roman shrugged a massive shoulder. All we can do is make an attempt. It will be no worse off than before. What are you talking about? I asked. These are 2 lunatics, Kathleen said. I'm proposing a way to capture all the Skinners at one time and stuff them back into the coffer. We wrinkled her brow. Besides being extremely risky, doesn't the ritual require 4 nights? I think I remember reading that somewhere in your ancestral journal, Roman. Well, yes, technically, but at last count, you have 2. Well, maybe 2.5. No offense, Ben. Her husband waved to Pepperoni in dismissal. What is a knight but one who has killed in battle in defense of an innocent? Both Ben and Matt have bloodied their maces and helped rescue Vandermeer and her daughter. I say they are close enough to knighthood to count. Roman beamed and wrinkled it and winked at me. See, Chico? Nope, I felt as far from a knight as possible. And that's the end of chapter 24 of Del Toro Moon. If you liked, please like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, just put them in the comments. Thank you. Bye.